Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Okay, welcome to Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Myself, Matthew Berry. Connor Rogers not here today, still smarting from the departure of Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz from his Mets. So it's just me and Matthew, just two men at a table in Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah, it's another dream date, just me and you, buddy. Yeah, he is. He's probably doing a podcast about it right now.
Yes.
Complaining about the Orioles, not understanding why that all happened to him and his Mets. It's weird because Connor Rogers has chosen a life of sadness.
Yeah, he has.
He really has.
Jets,
Jets.
Rangers. He wasn't old enough to experience the joy of their last title.
Mets, Jets, Rangers, works with me every day. It is a life of sadness.
It's not great for Connor Rogers.
Yeah. He's forced to make his living.
Knicks as
being
well.
nice to me.
Big Knicks fan.
Yeah.
No title since 74. It's tough out there for Connor Rogers. It's amazing he's able to maintain as bubbly an exterior as he does on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Before we get
Constantly being told by people in America that he's not as good as Todd Zeal.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there for Connor J. Rogers. Anyway, before we get into love-hate, Matthew, you take on many forms. You're a leather daddy,
Yep.
a sore loser daddy, and you're also a Cheshire Cheer daddy.
Yeah, you know what? Jay, you're absolutely right. It is the love-hate show, so I wanted to start the show with some love. And you know who drinks free is my daughter and her entire team, the Cheshire Junior cheer team. Now, of course, they're all 14 years old, so they Shirley Temples for free. They're not getting any booze. You know, we do card. But here the girls are at the American Youth Cheer National Championship. We went there last week, and I wanted to wait until today to talk about this when we had a little bit more time, until it was the love-hate show and I could spend some love, because these girls that you're looking at right here are the second best team in the entire freaking country. This team from a town of 30,000 in Cheshire, Connecticut. There's me and my wife and our daughters afterwards. They're holding the second place trophy. There was a Christmas tree in the hotel lobby, very lovely as well. There's me. I'm wearing my proud Cheshire Cheer Dad t-shirt. As you can see, my daughter's faces, they were like, sort of like, Dad, just get this photo over with. Like, no, I demand it. But they were absolutely great. They won their locals. I'll just very quickly tell you that it is a local team that they take all comers.
Yep.
You know, there's some professional teams where like you have to try out and they've got private gyms and professional coaches. This is a team of just all kids. Like if your check clears and the mom signs the waiver, you're on the team. And the kids work their ass off. It was a brand new team, a bunch of 7th graders, 8th graders, and they won their local division. They won the state of Connecticut. They were first in the state of Connecticut. They qualified at regionals. They went to nationals. And they finished second in the entire country in the D14 large level 2 division at the AYC championships. And some people, and by some people, I mean this guy, thought they actually should have been the national champion, Jay.
Is there a controversy?
There's some judging controversy, if I'm being honest with you, because they were in second place in day one, and the third place team somehow jumped them. I don't know. I thought they were number one. They're champions situation. They're champions in my heart, but they're officially second in the entire country, and it's an unbelievable accomplishment for these young ladies and their coaches, who they all just work their butts off, and so I'm incredibly proud of them. They drink for free today. They drink for free for life, when they're of age, of course. But Shirley Temples all around for the Cheshire Junior Cheer Rams.
Okay, congratulations to Samantha and Brooke and the whole team. You mentioned that anyone can join the team.
Yes.
Much like the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of a similar situation there.
Yes.
As we jump into love-hate running backs, we should have in the top 10 still. And Indianapolis Colt. There we go. Jonathan Taylor comes in at number 8, even if his quarterback is almost twice his age. But I want to start off talking about Derrick Henry, Matthew. Derrick Henry has gone a little under the radar this year. It was a tough start. He had the fumbling issues. Hasn't really been in the vicinity of the year that he had last year. But quietly, he's still Derrick Henry. He comes in at running back 5 for you, and he has a very favorable matchup against the Bengals.
I mean, that's the point, right? You know, do we think Derrick Henry gets 15 touches against the Bengals? We do. And so running backs that have seen at least that number against Cincy this year, averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. They give the most rushing yards per game to opposing running backs this season. And so, you know, the Ravens, who are 2.5-point favorites in this game, should obviously be, you know, in positive or at least neutral game script where they're going to run Derrick Henry a lot. It's a cold game. This game's in Cincinnati. I think they're going to want King Henry to get in the end zone. So, yeah, he's my running back 5. He's not doing anyone any good on my team in our league because sadly, I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play the loser bracket.
No, you're gonna play it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it out.
Yeah.
A lot of times I just say, whatever.
That could actually be a good look for you. Be the best loser.
That's
be the
right.
best of the losers.
That's right. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what whatever. I tell my daughters it's not about the end result. It's about doing your best. They ended up becoming winners. I unfortunately lost out on a tiebreaker, as you know. But I gave everyone a 7-game head start. So, 7-7. We got to be on. You have to be in. No one else had a 7-game win streak in our league.
Is that true? Or are you just saying that?
No.
Even when we verified it?
I was told there'd be no fact checking.
Yeah. All right. No, you're probably right.
I also don't think anyone had a 7-game losing streak.
No, exactly. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Anyway,
Derrick Henry against the Bengals.
We like him.
The Bengals, their defense, I think there were murmurs that maybe the Bengals defense has fixed a little bit. Well, if they can generate 5 turnovers every game like they did against the Ravens last time around, then they're fixed. They also gave up, 39 points to the Bills, and that included James Cook fumbling at the 1. So this is still a very bad defense, and ultimately one that King Henry should be able to pop off for. We haven't had a 190-yard, 2-touchdown Derrick Henry game in a while. Perhaps this is the moment with the Ravens having this season.
I might call up Mr. King and say I want to throw a few bucks down on Derrick Henry for 2 touchdowns at what I'm sure is plus money.
Certainly plausible. Okay, love list for me, Devin Achane against the Steelers on Monday night. Achane.
We expect him to play.
Yes, expecting him to play. All the reporting has been that the ribs issue was just precautionary and that he could come back in. They were destroying the Jets, so no reason to bring him back. He looked like he was on pace for a 190-yard, 2-touchdown type of game before he went down. Steelers' rush defense has been inconsistent. We saw a couple weeks ago what James Cook and the Bills were able to do on the ground against them. And the one thing the Steelers do well is they generate quick pressure. They still have the pass rush, even if TJ Watt's not peak TJ Watt. They're still able to generate pressure quickly. And so I think that Mike McDaniel will want to not put Tua Tagovailoa in those situations, try and lean on the run in that. And Devin Achane, who, again, because the Dolphins are 6-7, they started so poorly, I think that's gone a little under the radar that, if we're redrafting today, Devin Achane goes in the top 4 picks.
There's no question about it. It's unbelievable. And it's what's really impressive about Devin Achane, who's one of the people on the wall that's representing himself well, is that it's been such a poor offensive environment. Yeah. Credit to Mike McDaniel. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're like, all right, I got to stop Waddle, I got to stop Achane, and then I got to stop. Yeah, that's about it. Darren Waller's going to run some routes out there, but whatever. You know what I mean? It's a fairly narrow group of people that you have to worry about, and yet Achane has still been just absolutely terrific.
They have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs. 6-7. People talk about Mike McDaniel getting fired after 3 weeks, and they have the same record as the Chiefs.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the history of the 3 Super Bowl appearances.
Not
quite. But I do think McDaniel's probably has saved his job.
Absolutely. The team plays hard, and I think whatever you want to say about Mike McDaniel, I don't think anyone questions his acumen as an offensive mind and his scheme and what he's able to generate. Where the shine is off Tua. No one thinks that that's Tua who is driving success in that offense. It's McDaniel, it's Achane, Waddle, and Tua.
They lost Tyreek Hill, and McDaniel could get the plays in a little quicker. That would help sometimes.
This does seem to be a strange little issue he has. Anyway, Devin Achane, he was lining up the Jets before he got hurt. Now, Travis Etienne gets the Jets, the Jags double-digit favourites, and the Jets, who we've kind of been waiting for that game against the Dolphins for them to let go of the rope because they had a little dead cat bounce, a little dead jet bounce, beating teams like the Falcons the previous week, but this is a very favourable matchup for Etienne.
Yeah, I mean, teams facing the Jets this season are averaging the 3rd most running back rushes per game, over 25 rushes per game. Sort of makes sense. It's a stat that kind of tells you what you know. Teams get up big on the Jets, and then they're able to run against them, right? And then what the Liam Cohen has done really well here with Travis Etienne is sort of hide Trevor Lawrence a little bit, right? And just basically, but use the run game. He used it so effectively last year with Bucky Irving down the stretch especially, and we're seeing the same with Travis Etienne, who since week 9, Travis Etienne has the 2nd most red zone touches, I should say, in the NFL. And he's had at least 15 fantasy points in 5 of the past 6. We've seen some of the big playability come back for Travis Etienne. We've seen him burst some. They're actually starting to use him a little bit in the passing game as well. And so all the Bayshal Tootin shares out there and I had a decent amount of them, are decided like, he's a handcuff, he's an insurance running back at the moment right now because Travis Etienne is the main number one running back on a functional offense.
No, it looks like a good offense recently.
Yeah, and it will look like a good offense against in the Jets. And the other thing is like it feels like it's trending towards Brady Cook starting for the Jets.
Yeah, which is good because that means there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs and a lot of the Jags.
That's right, and they're up big in the second half, and then they're running Travis Etienne.
Yep, and also credit to Trevor Lawrence, who I don't think played particularly well this year. He was fantastic against the Colts and does give you hope that maybe as we get into deeper in the second half of the season, he gets more acclimated to Liam Cohen's offense, gets that rapport with Jacoby Myers, that this is just going to be a better and more explosive offense and one that you want shares in going forward, which is good news for Travis Etienne. And on offense that you definitely want shares in, the Buffalo Bills and James Cook, love list for me, against the Patriots. I think there's this perception that the Patriots have a strong defense, which over the course of the season, it's been fine against an easy schedule, but their rush defense has fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
Since week 9, they are the worst rush defense in the NFL by success rate allowed. And I think even by the eye test, like Devin Singletary was getting yards in that Monday night game. They haven't been effective against the run. And the thing with Buffalo is that they are perfectly happy to lean into James Cook. James Cook has more carries this year than Jonathan Taylor. He leads the NFL in carries. I don't think we think of James Cook as that prototypical Jonathan Taylor, last year Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley type of back. He gets more carries than anyone, and he's over 5 yards per carry. This is an elite running back in a favorable matchup against the Patriots. In a game, again, they're not going to hold back in this game. This is not season on the line, but division very much on the line. So James Cook, I would project him to have more rushing yards than anyone this week.
Yeah, no, I like that. Over the last 4 weeks, they're a bottom 12 run defense in terms of rushing yards allowed per game, and so Cook has been using more in the passing game. And I'm not worried about the fumble into the end zone. I mean, it was freezing cold and everything like that. So I think they go back to James Cook as well. So I'm in on that call.
Okay, let's take a look at some others receiving votes. Headlined by Woody Marks, who is getting usage. The long runs haven't been there, the touchdowns haven't been there, but he is a 9.5-point favorite against the Cardinals.
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, just about, again, like he's getting a lot of work, but it hasn't really translated into fantasy points. I will say that I'm more optimistic this week than I think I ever have, and it's a lot because of the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's allowing the 4th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. They're actually tied for the 3rd most rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs. And so Woody Marks, who is averaging 21 touches a game over the last 4, he is getting the work. It hasn't always turned into fantasy production, but I think it might against Arizona. He's a flex play. RJ Harvey against the Packers. Look, season highs in snap rate, in touches, and target share last week. Harvey continues to earn more and more of that role for the Broncos as well. Last 6 running backs to face Green Bay, Jay, have all seen at least a 12% target share. And so Harvey, who's so dangerous, if they can get him into space, they're going to need him in this home game against the Packers. I think when I think about that defense, one of the ways to keep Micah Parsons from destroying your quarterback is just keep handing it off. Yeah,
and also activating the screen game as well, which we saw Ben Johnson do a little bit of. Broncos 2.5-point dogs at home in that game. Not a lot of respect for the 1 seed in the AFC going up against a Packers team that is rounding into form.
By the way, they're right.
Yeah, no, I like the Packers.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are fraudulent. I mean, the weird thing is like the Broncos are like the Chiefs last year, where the Broncos, it was just like they can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah.
This is what we said about the Chiefs last year. The difference is that the Chiefs had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and a really good defense. The Denver has a really good defense.
They remind me of that first year at Kevin O'Connell with Kirk Cousins, where they went 13-4 but had like a negative point differential, where it's like, this is a good, solid team, but it's not a 13-4 team.
It's an elite defense. Denver has an elite defense.
Yeah.
But the offense, you're sort of like,
it's not great. They got a good O-line. Bo Nix doesn't take sacks, but there's not a lot of upside there. Question from Josh in my flex, RJ Harvey or Terry McLaurin?
I'm going to go with Harvey here. Look, we like McLaurin's matchup against the Giants, of course, with Mariota, but I just talked about RJ Harvey, who's my running back 16. I feel like he's got the better chance at a touchdown here. As well. So it's close, but I'm going to go with RJ Harvey as my pick. By the way, one other running back that's others receiving votes, Devin Neal, who, is just, again, I'm assuming Alvin Kamara is going to be out again if he's not I take this back. But assuming, as we sit here on a Thursday, that if Chimere is out or even like hampered, Devin Neal played 76% of the snaps over the last 3 weeks with Chimere banged up. By the way, that's top 7 among running backs in the National Football League. He's averaging over 18 touches a game. And this Panthers defense, again, they're like, it's solid, but like the run defense does not scare you for Carolina. Since week 10, Panthers allow the 10th most fantasy points. The 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So since week 10, the 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Good Lord. There we go.
Simster 1. Which do you start, Monangai, Rico, or Devin Neal?
It's a tough one here. I'm actually going to say, again, assuming Chimere is out, I'm going to say Devin Neal because I'm a believer in the Chubler, or the Chubler, whatever that was.
Chubler if you want.
Yeah, well, he's Chuba Hubbard, but he's the Chubler. We've always referred to him as the Chubler. I've screwed that up.
Yeah, common misconception.
I think that, I have them basically back-to-back each other, Devin Neal and Rico Dowdle, right? Yeah. Which I'm hedging my bets a little bit on Chimere, but I feel a little bit better about Devin Neal at the moment. So I'm hedging my bets on that rank, just in case you're wondering about the rankings there.
Yep.
But
I would go Devin Neal because I think that as a people...
I just think Chuba Hubbard looks so much better and out of the bye, another week healthier.
Yeah, Dowdle's trending in the wrong direction, Neal trending in the right direction. I think we need to open our minds to the possibility that Tyler Shuck is just good. Like, he has played well in recent weeks. He's 14th by PFF grade among all quarterbacks across the season. He just looks the part as well. He made some outstanding throws against the Bucs using his legs. And that's not to say that I think that Tyler Shuck's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I do think that he is capable of running a competent offense that's going to get into scoring position against a defense that's not that terrifying. So Devin Neal, certainly a guy who could swing some matchups in the final few weeks, including this week.
No question. Again, it all depends on Chimere's health.
Yeah. Also, the Saints, their schedule down the stretch.
It's unbelievable.
It's comical. Like, Panthers this week, where they are 2.5-point dogs, and then it's like Jets, Titans, Falcons. Very real chance, and they won this past week. They may end the season on a 5-game winning streak. The New Orleans Saints get to 7-10. Might have the same record as the Chiefs by the end of the year.
Kellen Moore, Coach of the Year.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All your Kyle Shanahan tickets up in smoke.
Kellen Moore. He's done a good job. He runs a tight ship.
He has done a good job. There's talent deficiencies there, but they play hard for him. They've been competitive. He's gotten more out of Tyler Shuck than I think anyone expected. Yep. And honestly, more out of Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
They
also they lost some coin flip games at the start of the year. It's not a good team, but they're well coached. Yeah, it's not a disaster. They don't punt games away. The future is brightish, bright adjacent in New Orleans.
Yeah, who dat, Jay? Who dat? I will say, but that schedule, you're talking about the Jets and the Titans, everything, that's one of the reasons why I think the Saints, for leagues that play with defenses, I think the Saints are a very sneaky, streamable defense throughout the fantasy playoffs because of the schedule they'll face.
Yep. Okay, let's jump to the hate list, headlined by Jaylen Warren against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have had a much improved run defense lately, and Kenneth Gainwell still looms over everything in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's the problem. I really like Jaylen Warren. I think I'm the only one. I said that, again, one of my better calls, and I'm not super proud of this, but one of my better calls in the preseason. Go back and watch the tape in the preseason where I was just like...
No one's going to watch this tape.
No, go ahead. Brady Clark might, or Clark Brady. Who is it? Yeah, who's our number one? Who's the guy that watched 12 hours? No.
Yeah,
Clark Brady, our fan that watched all...
No relation to Tom.
Yeah. He might go back and look. But go back and look at this. Or I tweeted this out too. But in the preseason, I was just like... All you Caleb Johnson drafters are going to be really disappointed and shocked and dismayed at how much Kenneth Gainwell plays this year. Everyone's just like, Caleb Johnson, we're all in on the rookie. He's the new Najee Harris. And I'm just like, they like Kenneth Gainwell. They really like Kenneth Gainwell. And by the way, to his credit, he's played well this year.
Yeah,
Kenneth Gainwell has. He's just not Jaylen Warren, but for whatever it's worth, back-to-back games now for Jaylen Warren with 12 or fewer touches. He's got only 6 more snaps than Kenneth Gainwell in that span. It is a true committee, Jay. Since week 8, Warren has only 1 game with a double-digit target share. And this is a tougher matchup on Monday night than people think. To your point about Mike McDaniel, we always think about him offensively, but the team hasn't quit on him, and their defense has actually sneakily been pretty good. No team over the last 4 weeks allows fewer fantasy points to opposing running backs than the Miami Dolphins. They've played well.
Yeah, they were atrocious defensively to start the season, and then they figured something out and got like Bijan Robinson did nothing against the Dolphins. Derrick Henry did very little against the Dolphins. Even in week 1, Jonathan Taylor didn't do much there. Ronas Fonseca Jr., Jameson Williams, Teteroa McMillan, or Jalen Warren, PPR.
I'm going to go with J-Mo.
Yep.
It's close between him and Teteroa. But I don't think we love the talent of McMillan.
Yeah.
We don't love this offense. They keep trying, even when Bryce Young's rolling, it's 15-20.
Yeah. Teteroa McMillan had one catch his last game. One catch. And it was a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a 40-yard touchdown, right. But
one catch.
That's right. So I think it's Jameson Williams in what should be a great game against the Rams. That line is 55.5.
Yeah, total 55.5.
Yeah, so I think you want as much of the Rams-Lions game in Detroit as you can get. Matthew Stafford.
In LA.
Oh, sorry, in LA. That's what I meant.
And the Lions are 6-point dogs. And the Lions are never 6-point underdogs. So they will have, you suspect, the game script to be throwing all game. Staying in that game, hate list for me, David Montgomery, who played really well against the Cowboys, popped off the 35-yard touchdown
or so. He did play well. Yeah.
And he looks the part, like he looks very good. The issue is that Jahmyr Gibbs might be the best running back in football, and the Lions seem to be starting to understand that, where this workload in the run game is shifting progressively to Gibbs. They used to alternate drives between Montgomery and Gibbs, and then Gibbs would get the passing down work. They're not alternating drives. Now, Montgomery will get some spells to give Jahmyr Gibbs a breather, but this is Jahmyr Gibbs' offense now. This has been a month, really, since Dan Campbell took over the play calling, that Gibbs has gotten more sustained carries. So David Montgomery, again, tough matchup, elite defense in the Rams. They're 6-point dogs. This isn't a game that you suspect they're going to be nursing a 14-point lead, and that's where David Montgomery comes more into play. Yeah. So it's like he's a backup running back who I think is going to get 25-30% of the carries in a game where they're underdogs. So David Montgomery, I think, is a desperation flex type of guy.
He needs to fall into the end zone to pay off. I completely agree.
Indeed. All right, let's jump to love-hate pass catches. We take a look, Matthew, at your ranks 1 through 10. The top 3, no surprise: Puka Nacua, JSN, and Jamar Chase.
Now, again, CeeDee Lamb, we don't know 100% sure that he's going to play this week, but I've ranked him as if he is. My guy 8s. I call him 8s.
Likewise, Drake London. But number 6, A.J. Brown.
Drake London is actually not going to play tonight. And so that's, officially, he's not going to play.
A.J. Brown comes in at number 6. Good to see A.J. Brown back in the top 6, where his talent suggests that he should be. The Eagles have not turned things around, but A.J. Brown individually has.
Over the last 4 games, 35% target share. The squeaky wheel gets the grease poster child. A.J. Brown, 35% target share over the last 4 games. He's had double-digit targets in each one of those games. And so you're sitting here going like, all right, he's basically averaging a 35% target share, as I mentioned. Wide receivers that see at least a 25% target share against the Raiders, averaging over 17 fantasy points per game. I said this yesterday, Jay. I think that Jalen Hurts has a monster game here. He needs to, right? I mean, Philly Sports Talk Radio, they're talking about Tanner McKee. Jalen Hurts, who never says anything, is just going to come out and put up 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. Yeah, this does feel. And the other thing, too, is that Hurts is scheduled down the stretch. I don't think they played the Commanders yet. They played the Commanders 2 of the last 3 weeks, right? The Commanders might have the worst defense in football. Yes. Jalen Hurts is very likely going to finish on a tear. He'll want to rinse out that previous game. And A.J. Brown, also, the other thing, too, is that he just looks more athletic and explosive. The way that he was creating separation at the beginning of his route, he just looked like A.J. Brown again. I think that was the concern at the start of the year, is that there's this guy who was dealing with hamstring issues in the preseason, so he just lost the step. He hasn't lost the step. No. He's still A.J. Brown. It's just not sure what is going on in that Eagles offense overall, but A.J. Brown has been getting fed lately. Another guy who's been getting fed lately, Jameson Williams, who we just spoke about. Love list for me against the Rams. Game script, the fact that they are looking for him more often in Dan Campbell's offense, with Campbell calling the plays. Also, obviously, no Sam Laporta. Yes, Amon-Ra St. Brown has recovered from the ankle injury and is there, but still, I think there is enough volume to go around for Jameson Williams. And I think that, he is a wide receiver 2 type in a matchup, Matthew, where, as we mentioned, they are 6-point underdogs. Yeah, so we like Jameson Williams. I just think they're going to be throwing a ton, right? Yep. I answered the question earlier about J-Mo, and so this is a perfect game environment. So underdogs in good weather. They're they're at SoFi, as you mentioned, in LA. And Williams, since Dan Campbell took over as the coach, as we've talked about on the show many, many times, just they seem to feed him the ball.
Yep. Also, I think the other encouraging thing, which we mentioned earlier in the week, is that J-Mo was able to have a very good game against Dallas without catching a 50-yarder. Like, he wasn't dependent on the long ball. It was just sustained volume. Question from Bart Furley, Woody Marks or Jameson Williams in the flex, Matthew?
By the way, that's a great name, Bart Furley. Sounds like an old school private investigator.
Yeah,
Bart Furley,
yeah, either a character in like Chinatown or at the bar in Cheers.
That's right.
Two. Yeah.
Take
your pick.
So anyway, Bart, good name, strong name.
What about you, Bart?
Speaking of strong names, I'm going to go with Woody Marks here. Either guy, I actually don't think you can screw this up, Bart, because we like both players this week, but I'm going to go with Woody Marks and just the guaranteed touches. It's close, though.
Yep. Woody Marks a 9.5-point favorite, as we mentioned, so should certainly have game script and should get, he'll have a very good chance of getting in the end zone. Matthew, you're a brave man putting Justin Jefferson on the love list.
Yeah, someone has to do it, right?
Might as well be you.
What's the phrase? Because I always screw it up. The unmovable force against the
movable object makes the irresistible force.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't think that's it either. But
no, it's something like that. Like meets a wall. I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say. Justin Jefferson is very good at football. His quarterback isn't necessarily, but Justin Jefferson is very good at football. The Dallas Cowboys defense has not been, right? They've given up the most receiving yards and the most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this entire season. The Cowboys have, right? They've given up at least 17 fantasy points to an opposing wide receiver 10 of the last 12 games. And so here comes Justin Jefferson, who we know is super talented. And there's not a lot of stats that I can give you to back up what Justin Jefferson has done this year, because if you have him, you know. It's been brutal. But J.J. McCarthy actually showed signs of life last week against Washington. It was not a great defense, but he did what you need to do against a bad defense, which is get the ball to your playmakers, and he threw 3 touchdowns. And so Justin Jefferson was not one of them. I do think they make a point of trying to feed 18. You see it there right over my shoulder. Number 18, Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, I'm as a top 12 play this week. I am a brave man. I get it if you're shied away. But I'll just say this. Connor, what's your name? Jay.
We get confused all the time.
You guys look alike. All right. It's been a long day. What can I tell you? Here's stats at the door, right? With Justin Jefferson, fantasy football is an emotional game.
Sure.
Right? It's a game we play. It's a game we play for fun. It's a game we play for joy. And we play with our hearts on our sleeves often. I just think, for all of us out there, that if you're in the playoffs, and Justin Jefferson's was your first or second round pick, you're in there despite him, not because of Justin Jefferson. So you probably have a strong team all around him just to have gotten there. Okay. I just think that if you bench Justin Jefferson and he goes off, you will feel much worse than if you start Justin Jefferson and he doesn't do anything. Because you started Justin Jefferson, the great Justin Jefferson, in a ridiculous matchup. So this is also an emotion. We want to feel good. This is something we do, and I just think you'll feel better. You'll feel much worse if he goes off on your bench versus than if you start him and he does nothing.
Okay, well, right on cue. Question from Alex Webb: do you go down with Justin Jefferson or start Jacoby Myers? Jacoby Myers like a great avatar, conceptually for do you go down? Do you choose Justin Jefferson? Yeah,
I'm still going with Justin Jefferson, but I get the question, and just the fact that that's a legit question. Jacoby Myers on his second team in the middle of the season, or Justin Jefferson, but
I'm with you.
It's a gutty call, I think, which is crazy to think, but yes, I'm sticking with Justin Jefferson. I'm sticking with J.J. McCarthy to be able to get him the ball. And enough where he's a top 12 wide receiver this week.
Yep, I think there's 3 things in Justin Jefferson's favor. One is that I think last week was the best J.J. McCarthy has looked as a professional, so that bodes well. Secondly is that, Justin Jefferson didn't get fed in that game. McCarthy only had 23 pass attempts. They won the game 31-0. So we didn't see proof of concept that Jefferson specifically doesn't connect with this version of McCarthy. And then thirdly, I think the Cowboys are strangely a pass funnel defense now because Quinnen Williams is so good. Jahmyr Gibbs had an amazing game against the Cowboys in that primetime game on Thursday last week, but he didn't actually do anything on the ground efficiently. He was, I think, sub 3 yards per carry. It's just he broke the touchdown runs, but they were all in close. On a play-to-play basis, he wasn't getting anything on the ground. And so I think that the Vikings are going to have to throw in this one. And yeah, McCarthy's probably going to throw some picks, but he should be able to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. McCarthy's draft mate, Caleb Williams, I think will be getting the ball to Luther Burden, who plays the Browns. The Browns, a bit of a pass funnel defense as well, where they have had an elite rushing defense. They're just, their immunity goes away against Tony Pollard. Yep. Tony Pollard's the only man who can beat the best rushing defense in football. Everyone else doesn't have a chance. Christian McCaffrey, no chance whatsoever. Tony Pollard, though, he'll go for 160 plus. But Luther Burden, with the injury concerns over Rome Odunze, with DJ Moore just being anonymous at a given time, Luther Burden has become strangely consistent in this offense. I understand that it hasn't been super explosive in everything that you want, but 5 targets, at least 5 targets in 4 straight games. He goes 4 for 67 against the Packers. And I think that, as a flex guy, as a desperation-y flex guy, I think you can do worse than Luther Burden in a game where, despite being 8-point favorites, I do think Chicago will need to throw just because of the nature of Cleveland's defense.
They're not getting anything out of DJ Moore. Yep. Odunze has fallen off since then. So yeah, they need a spark, and I think Luther Burden has the talent to be able to give it to him. Like, it's a risky play in the playoffs because we haven't seen it consistently here, but I like to call this kind of a desperation flex there.
Yep. All right, staying in that game, Harold Fannin Jr., who went berserk against the Titans last week, Matthew, gets into the end zone. I think he had 11 targets in that game, and he goes up against the Bears team where you'd expect the Browns will be throwing.
Yeah, exactly. Harold Fannin is just getting a massive target share. Since week 7, Trey McBride is the only tight end with a higher target share than Harold Fannin Jr. He's been the 5th best tight end in fantasy on a points-per-game basis during that stretch. And so, again, the Bears, they struggle against tight ends. If you get at least 6 targets against Chicago this season, you're averaging almost 14 fantasy points per game. So I have Harold Fannin Jr. as a top 4 fantasy tight end this week. Again, clearly has a connection with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders has been named the starter for the rest of the year by 2-time head coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. Not everyone knows he's won that award, but he has, and Fannin seems to be the beneficiary.
Yep. Also, those tight end
Njoku
stats
caught the touchdown last week, but otherwise, Njoku just hasn't done anything in a while.
Indeed. Also, those tight end stats a bit deflated. Luke Musgrave was about an inch from catching a bomb from Jordan Love that got overturned on review. Let's get to some others receiving votes, headlined by a guy who's been much more relevant this year than I think anyone would have expected, and that's Wan'Dale Robinson.
It's crazy, the emergence of, PPR scam artist Wan'Dale Robinson. 28% target share when Jaxson Dart is under center, as Dart will be this weekend against the Commanders. He's had at least 8 targets in 4 of the past 5 games for Wan'Dale. No team allows more receiving yards to the slot this year than my Washington Commanders. How about Stefon Diggs? Another revenge game against the Bills. Went 10 for 146 the first time he faced Buffalo as well. Bills have given him at least 16 fantasy points to wide receiver in 7 of the last 9 games. We saw what T. Higgins did to them last week. How about Jauan Jennings? It's Tennessee, right? Since week 7, the Titans allow the 5th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and it does feel like Jennings is the number 1 wide receiver for Brock Purdy. 7 straight games with at least a 22% target share for Jauan Jennings. Chimere Dike playing against the 49ers in that same game, 32% target share last week. Niners allowed the most receptions per game to opposing slot receivers. That's where Dike lines up the majority of the time. And finally, Isaiah Likely.
Oh,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you, Isaiah Likely caught a touchdown last week. Caught 2 touchdowns last week. Only one of them counted, but he did. That was a touchdown. Bad call. All right. Isaiah Likely is a tight end. All right, hold that thought over here. All right, Isaiah Likely is a tight end, and he plays Cincinnati. What do we get when we put those thoughts together?
Magic.
Oh, sweet, sweet fantasy points. Sweet magic. Look, Bengals allow 24.1 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. That's more than 7 points than any other. It is death taxes. Start your tight end against the Bengals.
Yeah, and Isaiah Likely presumably this time won't be fumbling touchdowns at the one against said Bengals. Stefon Diggs, I agree. Remember last time he played Buffalo, he went absolutely berserk on Sunday Night Football. Suspect that he will be very motivated to do the same thing with the division on the line. Let's jump to the hate list. An Indianapolis Colt, much to my chagrin, Matthew headlines it. Michael Pittman, you're not happy with Phil Rivers, 44 years old.
Yeah, or Riley Leonard. We don't know who's going to start as we sit here and tape this today, but Colts have the 3rd lowest implied team total in Week 15. And you've got the Seattle matchup since Week 8. Seahawks have allowed the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing wide receiver. No team has allowed less fantasy points to wide receivers than the Seattle Seahawks since Week 8 of the season. Like, during that stretch, only 3 wide receivers, literally only 3 wide receivers this entire time have scored even double-digit fantasy points, even 10 fantasy points against the Seahawks. Again, uncertainty at the quarterback position, really tough matchup. Pittman's outside my top 35 for the week.
Yep. Braden Smith also in concussion protocol, which doesn't help the Colts' offensive line.
No, sir, does
that
not.
is not an offensive line that you want injured with potentially Phil Rivers back there. Egbuka or Pittman for the 3rd wide receiver spot. This is from Cantu Films. Matthew.
Yeah, I'm going with Egbuka tonight. I want no part of Pittman. So
yep.
I get it. Egbuka's been tough lately, but, Falcons over the last 4 weeks have been a bottom 5 pass defense in terms of most yards allowed to opposing wide receivers. So hopefully Egbuka gets deep for 1.
Yep. Hopefully, even though for me, Egbuka on the hate list, I agree I would start him over Michael Pittman. That's more a reflection of the state of the Colts than anything good about Emeka Egbuka.
Exactly.
He's catching less than half of his targets. That's the thing, is that Baker Mayfield keeps throwing him the ball. He keeps getting 8, 9, 10 targets each week. He just cannot bring them in. I think some of that is luck. I think some of that is that he's just in his own head at the moment. The drop touchdown against the Saints was completely insane. And even though the Falcons, their pass defense hasn't been great, a lot of that was just the second half against Seattle where JSN went berserk. For the most part, they have been a run funnel defense because they haven't been able to stop anyone on the ground. Jonathan Taylor going for 244 on the ground, the defining performance there. So I think that the Bucs, season on the line, they will want to run the ball. And Emeka Egbuka, expecting Mike Evans back for this one as well, which will maybe take some attention off of him, but also creates another guy to take targets away from him, and he's not doing much with the targets that he gets for now. All right, we're going to hit our first break. When we come back, love-hate continues with the quarterbacks.
Next up is Lions, which is, you have a history there.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be playing so well going into that particular match?
I mean, you hate to hear it, but we got to earn it every single week, and because I played well this week doesn't mean, you're guaranteed to play well the next week. We got to go earn that. We do it every single week. I got a ton of respect for that team. Head coach, everybody, they do a hell of a job. They've done a great job the last couple of years. So it'll be a big challenge every time we play these guys. It seems like a good match. So, looking forward to the opportunity of playing on a big stage against a really good team.
Okay, it was Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, minus 180 favorite for MVP. And
Do you think he wins? Is there anything he can? If they don't win the division, does he still win the award?
I don't think so. If he loses the division, then I think either Drake May or Josh Allen will.
Okay.
I think if Josh Allen, if he runs the slate and Stafford loses in Seattle in that Thursday night game, or he loses this game, then I think that Josh Allen, if he can win the division, will come home and win it. But Drake May also very viable. It's just Stafford's numbers are just so insane. I also think everyone wants to vote for Stafford. Like, it just feels
very
like
likable. He's a very likable guy. Everyone loves Matthew Stafford.
Hall of Famer, made man, won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Has the cool sidearm throws. Everyone likes Matthew Stafford.
Everyone likes Matthew Stafford. Universal approval on Matthew Stafford.
Yep. And he headlines the quarterback love list with a matchup against Detroit, who don't have any cornerbacks left.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that. If you saw the rankings graphic, for those of you who are watching the show, you saw that, he's my number 3 quarterback this week. He's playing at home where he's averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. He's had at least 3 touchdown passes in 4 of the last 5. They're getting close. They look for Devontae Adams. There he is. And you mentioned the Detroit matchup here and how banged up they are. Since week 8, the Lions allow the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. # revenge game for Matthew Stafford. Although, honestly, the Lions did him right.
Yeah,
I mean, the Lions basically said, hey, we know we're not competing for a Super Bowl here in the near future. We will send you to your buddy Sean McVay.
Yeah.
They were buddies. Sean McVay and his wife and Matthew Stafford and his wife Kelly were friends. They would vacation together and stuff.
It's a revenge game for Jared Goff. It's not a revenge game for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very amicable. Jared Goff is not happy about getting traded in those scenarios. If you watch the Netflix doc, he was not, which he shouldn't be. He basically got tossed aside.
The Rams gave up a first-round pick to get rid of him. They're like, if you will take him off of our hands, we will give you a first-round pick. It's really embarrassing.
Yeah. It worked out for both of them.
No, it absolutely did.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. We A lot of people don't know this, but one of the reasons why we have such a fancy bar is that's what was given to us to take Connor Rogers off of SNY's hand during the week. SNY sent that bar and Connor Rogers to us for future considerations.
And it worked out, much like Jared Goff worked out for Connor Rogers.
That's right.
Yeah, no Super Bowl yet for Connor Rogers or Jared Goff, but there is still time. Also no Super Bowl yet for Lamar Jackson. Don't think this is going to be the year either. So the Ravens are on the outside looking into the playoff picture, but very favourable matchup against the Bengals. I think that the past 2 weeks have in a way been encouraging for Lamar because he looks a little bit more like himself. He still doesn't look like Lamar Jackson, but he was looking for a while like 50% of Lamar. Yeah. Now he looks more like 75% of Lamar. See, the Steelers, the key thing is that he was running the ball.
Exactly. That's exactly right. The 43 rushing yards, he ran for a touchdown in, and again, he looked like 75% Lamar, whereas the week before, the previous weeks, he looked at like 50% Lamar, 40% Lamar.
He just unable to avoid sacks, just doesn't seem to have his same elusiveness. And now, statistically, he did not have a good game against the Bengals, but as we've talked about, he kind of got screwed statistically because Isaiah Likely fumbles at the 1. They have 5 turnovers overall. I think that he should do, for the most part, what he wants against the Bengals defense, which may be the worst in the league. So understand, if you drafted Lamar Jackson, it's been a rough season overall, but as we go into the fantasy playoffs, this is as good a matchup as you can imagine.
And by the way, if you are watching this show, it means you're in the fantasy playoffs. And if you have Lamar Jackson, it means you've done a hell of a job this year to get into the fantasy playoffs with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. We think your patience will be rewarded with a nice game against Cincinnati. One guy that I like quite a bit, Jaxson Dart. You had me at Commanders. Like, they're playing Washington. Like, Ron Rivera level defense is what Washington is rolling out there. 5 of the 7 quarterbacks that have faced my Commanders, Jay, have scored at least 20 fantasy points, right? We are bottom 5. You want some bad Commanders defense stats? Because I've got some bad Commanders defense stats. Washington is bottom 5 in yards per game. They're bottom 5 in yards per pass attempt. And they're bottom 5 in touchdown rate allowed this year. I think what all those stats tell you is something that you know instinctively. Washington is stinky. We are not so good. We are bad. We are bad at the defense.
Yeah.
And Jaxson Dart is good at the offense. He runs around a little bit. I'm at QB6. I have Jaxson Dart at QB6, Jay.
Yeah, and that's even with
the Dartler.
The Dartler, Dartmouth himself. I don't expect that he's going to run the ball as much as he did earlier in the season because
it seems like
stuff. Yeah, and it seemed like Kafka was given instructions like you cannot call 10 design runs for this guy. He didn't run the ball against the Patriots outside of a couple of times. Yeah. They low pass rate over expectation in that game. They're trying to run the ball. With all that said, I don't think it matters because I think he can do it through the air against the Commanders, who might have the worst secondary in the league. Footballer 77, one of our favorite regulars. I want to bench Jacoby Brissett for Jaxson Dart in my super flex, but can I possibly do that based on Brissett's consistency, even with the terrible matchup? I think you can do it. I'd rather have Jaxson Dart.
Footballer, not only can you do it, you should do it.
Must.
100%. Houston is where fantasy quarterbacks go to die. Jacoby Brissett's on a really nice run here, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And we just saw Patrick Mahomes get, absolutely destroyed by Houston. Now, slightly different story if Tyquan Thornton comes down with that ball. But still, the fact of the matter is that Jacoby Brissett, a lot of his production, not all of it, but a lot of his production has come in negative game script. He's coming back. They're throwing a ton. I don't know that we like C.J. Stroud this week. We like the Texans offense, but the Texans offense isn't great. It's not so awesome where you're like, well, C.J. Stroud, they're definitely going to light these guys up, and they're going to be up 30-10, and Jacoby Brissett's going to have to throw a ton like he has previously. So I don't know. I would just think about what you're asking. Jaxson Dart, who's this exciting rookie, I think he's probably got a shot at winning Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Second favorite after Tedero McMillan.
Yeah, and, or Jacoby Brissett. It's one of those things that, if you start Jacoby Brissett, a footballer, if you start Jacoby Brissett, and then he has, what Mahomes did, he has, 5 points, 7 points, something like that, and you lose your matchup, you're going to sit there and think to yourself, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I went into a playoff matchup with Jacoby Brissett, and I get you, he's gotten you here, and he's been so consistent, but, and anything can happen. It's NFL football, it's fantasy football, but you asked me my opinion, you asked Jay his opinion, and our opinion is Jaxson Dart over Jacoby Brissett this weekend.
Yep. You got one guy who looks like Anakin Skywalker, wears cool face paint, and then you got Jacoby Brissett. Right. Staying in the vaunted NFC East, love list for me, Jalen Hurts, who faces the Raiders. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Jalen Hurts, how he has right now the world on his shoulders, pitchforks out, but this is it's a very good matchup, about as good as it gets, where the Raiders' run defense has actually been somewhat competent. Their pass defense gets torched repeatedly with the way that A.J. Brown is looking. Devontae Smith has been a rougher few weeks for Devontae Smith, but still the talent there is undeniable. I think they're going to need to throw in this game more than you typically would for a double-digit favorite. But Hurts, I think, will get right in this spot through the air.
I agree.
Also, they were running him a bit more against the Chargers than previous, which is a good sign for his
There have been situations, this is anecdotal, so I don't have it in front of me, but I just feel like there have been times over the last few years where Jalen Hurts has had a bad game, and pitchforks are out, and everyone's just like, he's not our franchise quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes out and just tortures everyone. And I feel like the Eagles are one of the pettiest teams in the NFL. They listen to that stuff, you know what I mean? And then they go out and they show, we'll show you. And so the schedule lines up perfectly for after what was a very tough day at the office for Jalen Hurts on Monday night. Now they get a home game against the Raiders. Yep.
All right, others receiving votes. Another very favorable matchup for my man Brock Purdy going against the Titans, Matthew.
It's Brock-vember, Jay, and you love this matchup against Tennessee. Since week 7, the Titans allow the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They've given up multiple touchdown passes in 6 of the 7 games in that stretch. And we've talked about this guy, the Traveler. You get against the Jets. He played well last week, Trevor Lawrence did. He's actually finished quietly as a top 12 fantasy quarterback in 7 of the past 9. He's averaging almost 19 fantasy points a game during that stretch. And now you get the Jets, who are 28th in pressure ratio. The Jets can't get to the quarterback. And so if you're giving Trevor Lawrence time, and he's got a full complement, or more or less. You know, he's got Brian Thomas Jr., he's got Jacoby Myers, he's got Brent Strange back there as well. We think they can run effectively. I like Trevor Lawrence. The only fear is that if Brady Clark starts, Brady Cook, sorry. I was like, that's not right. Brady
Clark is the inversion of a guy who watches our show.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Which is Clark Brady.
But anyway, long day. Anyway, if Tyrod Taylor doesn't start for the Jets,
that's good.
That's the only fear, is that the Jaguars get up big and then they just run heavily in the second half. But I do think Trevor Lawrence will do enough damage there to be a low-end QB1 this week.
Yeah. Also, unless someone put a V in December that I'm unaware of, it's Brock-sember, not Brock.
Oh, sorry.
We're now in.
The calendars have turned. It is Brock-sember.
Yeah, indeed. It's all right. We're only 10, 11 days in. All right, let's jump to the hate list.
I was told there'd be no math. I was told there'd be no calendars.
Yeah, no calendars. I was told there would be no calendars.
Yeah.
All right.
No fact-checking, no calendars, no math.
Yeah. Jordan Love is on the hate list, Matthew. Difficult matchup against the Broncos.
Yeah, he really does. I know you love Jordan Love.
I do love him.
But part of the problem is that this, the Broncos are able to get pressure, right? They have the second most quarterback pressures this season. And when he's under pressure, Jordan Love has not been great. He's 23rd. Sorry, he is 33rd in pressure rate when he in pass. God dang it. I screwed this all up. No, Jordan Love, when he's under pressure, he's 33rd in passer rating when he's pressured. Whatever, doesn't matter. Stats. When you can get to Jordan Love, he definitely doesn't. He struggles. Broncos allow passing touchdowns at the lowest rate this season. There have been only 4 quarterbacks that have scored at least 15 fantasy points against the Broncos, and 3 of them they used rushing, and Jordan Love doesn't really run. So he's my QB20. I just don't want no part of him on the road at Denver. I think this is a big Josh Jacobs game and a low-scoring game as well.
Yep, no, very well said by you, Matthew. Yeah. Ever the orator.
English is my second language.
Yeah.
I was told there'd be no math. I was told there'd be no fact-checking. I was told there'd be no calendars. I told there'd be no language arts as well.
Okay, language arts. All right, hate list for me. Sam Darnold going against Indianapolis. Here's why. I've seen the footage of Phil Rivers practicing. He looks like you. Yeah. The Seahawks are 13.5-point favorites in this one, and we've seen when they are huge favorites, they do not lean into the pass. This could be a game where Sam Darnold has 15 pass attempts, frankly. So we'll see. We'll see what the Colts have, but I think the likeliest outcome is that the Seahawks do not need to throw a ton. We're going to hit our last break. When we come back, our best bets for Thursday Night Football. Falcons-Bucs, NFC South showdown.
What could be better?
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, the crown! It is yours!
Yep, the crown's yours. All right, let's take a look at notable props for Thursday Night Football. Baker Mayfield, 218.5 passing yards. Kirk Cousins, only 207.5 passing yards. If you recall last year, he was going off for 500 for fun against these Bucs. Not quite those heady times. My favorite bet is Bijan Robinson, over 37.5 receiving yards. The reason why, the Bucs, last time he played them back in week 1, he had 100
Yes.
receiving yards. That's more than 37.5. I think that Atlanta will struggle to run the ball, and against the elite run defense, Bijan will get his through the air.
Yeah, no Drake London, and they are throwing more to Bijan as well. And that's one of the reasons why I'm taking the under 76.5 rushing yards for Bijan Robinson in this one, because I agree with you. They're going to throw to him. It's going to be a challenge to run against them. He had under 25 rushing yards against these Buccaneers in week 1. Only three players all season long have beaten this number against the Buccaneers. It's an elite run defense. It's a pass funnel defense. Falcons are underdogs in this game as well. So, yeah, give me Bijan Robinson under on his rushing. As you look at some of my ranks here for tonight, obviously you're still starting Bijan, I should say, and, of course, Bucky Irving. I think Kyle Pitts actually could be okay here, but the rest of the players I'm nervous about, all these guys. I think this is a sneaky low-scoring game here. I would probably take the under on the score.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield, QB 17, just haven't seen it in a long time for Baker.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. Help's on the way for Baker, so hopefully he finishes the season strong. Hey, that music means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good luck tonight as you start the playoffs. For Jay, I'm Matthew. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.